Love, it's one of the most mysterious forces in the universe. It builds empires, breaks hearts, and changes the course of lives. But have you ever wondered why someone truly falls in love? What happens inside the human mind that turns attraction into deep emotional connection? Today, we're not just talking about romance, we're exploring the psychology behind it. The hidden triggers, the emotional chemistry, and the little-known truths that make a man not just fall for you, but stay in love with you. Because love isn't luck, it's understanding. And when you understand how love works, you don't have to chase it. You create it. Emotional connection is built through authenticity and vulnerability, a truth that often gets overlooked in the pursuit of romantic relationships. In a world where appearances, social media facades, and societal expectations often dictate behavior, the genuine human need for connection can be easily obscured. When we speak of authenticity, in the context of love and relationships, we are referring to the act of being true to oneself, allowing our partner to see the real person beneath the surface. Authenticity is not merely a superficial act. It is a deep alignment between what we feel, what we think, and how we act. When a man encounters a woman who is authentic, he experiences a sense of relief and curiosity. Relief because he does not feel the pressure of trying to decipher hidden motives or pretend to be someone he is not. Curiosity, because authenticity invites exploration. It sparks interest in discovering more about a person who is unafraid to reveal their inner world. Authenticity is magnetic precisely because it is rare. Most people are conditioned to project idealized versions of themselves, hoping to be accepted or loved, but the power of being authentic lies in the courage to defy those norms. Vulnerability, on the other hand, is the bridge that connects two authentic selves. While authenticity is the foundation, vulnerability is the active expression that invites closeness. To be vulnerable is to expose the parts of ourselves that are uncertain, insecure, or imperfect. It is to admit fears, to share past experiences, to express emotions without the guarantee of acceptance. In the context of romantic relationships, vulnerability is often misunderstood as weakness, yet in reality, it is the ultimate strength. A man is more likely to feel deeply connected to a woman who can show vulnerability because it signals trust and emotional openness. When someone allows themselves to be seen in their raw form, it creates a safe space for the other person to do the same. This reciprocity of vulnerability fosters intimacy in a way that superficial charm, humor, or physical attraction alone cannot. The process of building emotional connection through authenticity and vulnerability involves several layers. Initially, it begins with self-awareness. To be authentic, one must first understand who they truly are, what they value, and what they desire in a partner. Self-awareness is an ongoing journey. It is the willingness to examine one's thoughts, behaviors, and emotional patterns. Without self-awareness, attempts at authenticity can feel forced or inconsistent. For example, a person may claim to value honesty, but consistently avoid difficult conversations to maintain harmony. Over time, these inconsistencies are perceptible to others, and they erode trust rather than build connection. True authenticity requires alignment between one's internal state and external expression, creating a coherent and transparent presence that others can resonate with. Vulnerability builds upon this foundation by adding emotional depth to authenticity. While authenticity is about being real, vulnerability is about sharing the real with courage and openness. It is the act of communicating one's inner world in a manner that invites understanding and empathy. For instance, sharing past disappointments, fears about the future, or moments of insecurity can be profoundly disarming, yet profoundly attractive, because it demonstrates emotional honesty. This type of openness can trigger a sense of empathy in the partner, encouraging them to respond with compassion and understanding. Emotional connection grows when both individuals are willing to engage in this delicate dance of revealing and receiving, of giving and accepting trust. Moreover, authenticity and vulnerability interact with psychological principles that govern attachment and bonding. Human beings are wired to seek emotional attunement, the experience of feeling understood and mirrored by another person. When a woman expresses her true feelings without pretense, and when she allows herself to be vulnerable, it signals to a man that she is attuned to her own emotions and capable of emotional reciprocity. This attunement activates deep neurological pathways associated with bonding, including the release of clospec-2 or oxytocin, sometimes referred to as the love hormone. Oxytocin enhances feelings of trust and attachment, creating a biological reinforcement of the emotional connection that authenticity and vulnerability initiate. In other words, being authentic and vulnerable is not just a psychological strategy, it taps into the very biology of human bonding. Emotional connection also thrives when authenticity and vulnerability are expressed consistently over time. Occasional moments of openness can spark interest, but sustained authenticity and vulnerability create a stable environment for emotional intimacy to deepen. Consistency is key because humans are naturally attuned to patterns. We notice when someone's behavior fluctuates in ways that feel unpredictable or insincere. By demonstrating reliable authenticity, a woman communicates that she is trustworthy and emotionally grounded, encouraging a man to invest his own emotional energy without fear of rejection or manipulation. Vulnerability expressed with consistency reinforces this trust. For instance, sharing personal stories, acknowledging mistakes, or expressing genuine concern for the other person's experiences builds a layered understanding that strengthens the bond incrementally. It is important to note that authenticity and vulnerability do not mean oversharing or abandoning personal boundaries. Emotional connection requires balance. One must be open enough to foster intimacy but discerning enough to maintain self-respect and personal integrity. Oversharing can overwhelm or confuse a partner, while undersharing can create distance. The art lies in communicating one's inner world with clarity, intention, and emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence involves recognizing not only one's own feelings but also how they affect the partner, and adjusting communication in ways that invite connection rather than push it away. A woman who masters this balance creates a magnetic presence, a safe harbor where a man feels seen, understood, and valued. The impact of authenticity and vulnerability extends beyond individual interactions. It shapes the overall dynamics of the relationship. When a man experiences a woman's authentic self, he is more likely to mirror that behavior, becoming open and expressive in return. Vulnerability begets vulnerability, creating a positive feedback loop of trust, empathy, and closeness. This mutual openness forms the foundation for deeper emotional intimacy, shared experiences, and long-term relational satisfaction. In essence, the act of being authentic and vulnerable does not just influence initial attraction, it lays the groundwork for a love that is resilient, adaptable, and deeply fulfilling. Examples of authenticity and vulnerability in everyday life can be subtle yet profound. It might be sharing a childhood memory that shaped one's personality, admitting uncertainty about a major life decision, or expressing gratitude for the partner's support in meaningful ways. Even small gestures, such as honest expressions of emotion during a conversation, or acknowledging when one feels hurt or misunderstood, contribute to building emotional connection. Each instance reinforces the perception that the relationship is a safe space for genuine self-expression, which is the cornerstone of lasting love. Cultural narratives often promote the idea that relationships are about grand gestures, physical attraction, or performance of idealized roles. However, research in psychology consistently shows that the depth and quality of emotional connection, rooted in authenticity and vulnerability, are far more predictive of relationship satisfaction and longevity. Couples who practice emotional transparency report higher levels of trust, intimacy, and mutual respect. Emotional connection becomes a self-reinforcing cycle. As authenticity and vulnerability are expressed and received, the emotional bond strengthens, which in turn encourages further openness and honesty. Another critical aspect is the courage required to be authentic and vulnerable. It is easy to mimic behaviors, say the right words, or play roles that society deems attractive. It is far harder to reveal the unpolished, imperfect, and sometimes messy aspects of oneself. Yet this courage is precisely what makes emotional connection irresistible. A man senses when a woman has the strength to embrace her full self, including her vulnerabilities, and this recognition triggers admiration, trust, and a deeper emotional investment. It is a paradox of human relationships. The more a person dares to reveal their inner truth, the stronger the connection becomes, even if it involves risk. In romantic contexts, authenticity and vulnerability also counteract common patterns of misunderstanding and emotional distance. Many conflicts in relationships arise not from incompatibility but from miscommunication and guardedness. When both partners practice authenticity, they are more likely to express needs, desires, and boundaries clearly. When both partners practice vulnerability, they are more willing to listen, empathize, and respond with compassion rather than defensiveness. The combination of these qualities reduces fear, builds trust, and fosters a shared sense of emotional safety. Over time, this foundation creates a resilient bond that can withstand challenges, disagreements, and external pressures, because the couple has cultivated a deep mutual understanding and respect. It is also worth noting that emotional connection through authenticity and vulnerability is not manipulative. It cannot be used as a tactic to make someone fall in love superficially. Genuine connection arises when these qualities are expressed sincerely, without expectation or coercion. A man may feel drawn to a woman's authenticity and vulnerability, not because she is trying to elicit a particular response, but because he senses the truth of her emotions, her integrity, and her humanity. Authenticity and vulnerability resonate on a fundamental level, bypassing superficial attractions and tapping into the deeper desires for trust, empathy, and intimacy that exist in every human being. Ultimately, emotional connection thrives when authenticity and vulnerability become habitual and natural aspects of one's interactions. It is not about occasional displays of emotion or carefully curated moments of honesty. It is about embodying a way of being that communicates, "This is who I am, and I invite you to see me." The more consistently a woman lives in alignment with her authentic self and expresses vulnerability with courage and discernment, the more profound the connection she can foster. Emotional intimacy is nurtured through repeated acts of genuine openness, through shared understanding, and through the courage to embrace one's own imperfections while accepting those of another. Consistency in attention and respect creates lasting attraction, a principle that is often underestimated in romantic relationships. While initial sparks of attraction can be ignited by physical appearance, charm, or novelty, it is the steady and reliable demonstration of attention and respect that transforms fleeting interest into deep, enduring love. Humans are wired to respond to patterns and reliability, and when a man experiences consistent attention and respect from a woman, it activates a profound sense of security and emotional investment. Attention in this context is not about superficial gestures or occasional displays of affection. It is about genuine focus on the man as a whole person, his emotions, thoughts, aspirations, and experiences. When a woman consistently pays attention, she communicates that she values him, that she sees him not just as a fleeting presence in her life, but as someone worthy of her time and energy. This consistent attention fosters emotional closeness, making him feel appreciated and understood. Respect, on the other hand, reinforces the boundaries, individuality, and dignity of the man. It communicates that she acknowledges his autonomy, his choices, and his perspective, even when they differ from her own. Together, attention and respect create a foundation upon which lasting attraction can thrive, because they address the core human need for recognition, validation, and safety in relationships. Consistency in attention is more than intermittent acts of interest or affection. It is the reliable demonstration that a man's presence matters to her in both ordinary and significant moments. This might manifest as remembering important details about his life, checking in regularly, actively listening during conversations, and expressing genuine curiosity about his thoughts and feelings. These behaviors may seem small individually, but when repeated over time, they create a powerful impression of care and attentiveness. A man intuitively recognizes when attention is inconsistent or performative, Sporadic interest can lead to doubt, insecurity, and emotional withdrawal. Consistency, however, establishes a pattern of reliability that signals emotional availability. When a woman consistently engages with him in meaningful ways, she creates an environment in which he feels comfortable expressing himself fully. This creates a feedback loop. The more he feels heard and valued, the more he is likely to invest emotionally, deepening the connection and reinforcing attraction. Respect, when combined with consistent attention, amplifies the sense of attraction by nurturing emotional safety. Respect involves recognizing the man's boundaries, honoring his opinions, and treating him with dignity in all situations. It is not simply polite behavior, it is a conscious commitment to acknowledging his humanity and individuality. In practical terms, respect can be expressed in many ways: validating his experiences without judgment, refraining from criticism that undermines his confidence, allowing space for his personal growth, and supporting his decisions even when they differ from her own preferences. Consistently demonstrating respect creates a dynamic in which the man feels seen, valued, and free to be himself. This is profoundly attractive because it aligns with a deep psychological need for autonomy and acceptance. People are naturally drawn to those who make them feel safe and respected, and when these qualities are consistently present, attraction is reinforced and deepened over time. The psychology behind consistent attention and respect is deeply rooted in human attachment mechanisms. According to attachment theory, humans develop relational expectations based on experiences of reliability, care, and safety in close relationships. When a woman consistently pays attention and treats a man with respect, she is effectively activating secure attachment responses. Secure attachment fosters emotional stability, trust, and the willingness to invest in long-term connection. Conversely, inconsistency in attention or disrespect can trigger anxiety, insecurity, or avoidance, which undermines attraction and intimacy. Men, like all humans, are naturally responsive to patterns. Repeated positive reinforcement through attention and respect creates a sense of predictability and trust that strengthens emotional bonds. It is this consistent, reliable demonstration of care and acknowledgement that differentiates relationships that flourish from those that falter after initial excitement fades. Attention is not merely about observing, it is about engaging with genuine interest and emotional attunement. Emotional attunement occurs when a woman not only listens to his words but also empathizes with the emotions behind them. Consistently practicing emotional attunement communicates to a man that his inner world is valued. This does not require grand gestures. Even small, everyday actions can accumulate into profound emotional significance. Asking thoughtful questions about his day, noticing subtle changes in mood, remembering past conversations, and expressing interest in his passions are all ways to demonstrate attentive care. When these actions are performed consistently, they signal that he is a priority in her life, not an afterthought. This sense of being consistently valued fosters emotional attachment, which is a critical component of lasting attraction. Respect operates on a similar principle of consistency. A single act of respect can be meaningful, but consistent respect over time creates a sense of reliability and integrity. For instance, consistently supporting his ambitions, validating his emotions, and refraining from demeaning or dismissive behavior establishes a pattern that reinforces his confidence and trust. When a man perceives that a woman respects him regardless of external circumstances, whether he is successful or struggling, confident or insecure, it communicates unconditional acknowledgement. This level of respect nurtures emotional security, which is highly attractive because it allows him to relax, be authentic, and invest more deeply in the relationship without fear of judgment or invalidation. Consistency also amplifies the emotional resonance of attention and respect by creating a rhythm in the relationship that the brain can anticipate and rely upon. Humans are highly responsive to predictable patterns. Consistent care triggers the release of neurochemicals such as oxytocin and dopamine, which enhance feelings of bonding, pleasure, and attachment. When attention and respect are delivered sporadically, the brain interprets the unpredictability as potential risk, creating anxiety or emotional withdrawal. On the other hand, regular, dependable acts of care and consideration produce a stable emotional environment, reinforcing the perception that the relationship is safe, nurturing, and desirable. Over time, this consistency translates into enduring attraction that is not dependent solely on physical or superficial qualities, but on a deeply ingrained sense of emotional reliability and respect. It is essential to understand that consistency in attention and respect is not about being passive or overly accommodating. It requires active engagement and intentionality. Consistent attention means being present in ways that are meaningful and responsive to the man's needs and emotions. Consistent respect means maintaining personal integrity while acknowledging and valuing his individuality. Together, these practices create a dynamic in which attraction is sustained because the man experiences ongoing reinforcement of his worth, validation of his feelings, and appreciation of his uniqueness. This is fundamentally different from short-lived charm or temporary excitement, which may spark interest but rarely develops into lasting emotional connection. Consistency in attention also fosters trust, which is a cornerstone of lasting attraction. When a man can rely on a woman to notice him, listen to him, and engage with him in meaningful ways consistently, he develops confidence in her reliability. Trust reduces uncertainty, fear of rejection, and emotional guardedness, creating space for deeper intimacy. Respect strengthens this trust by signaling that she honors his boundaries, values his opinions, and treats him with dignity in all circumstances. The combination of attention and respect, when practiced consistently, addresses both the emotional and cognitive dimensions of attraction. He feels emotionally seen and validated, and he cognitively perceives that she is trustworthy and dependable. This dual reinforcement solidifies attraction in a way that is difficult to replicate through superficial means. Furthermore, consistency in attention and respect communicates emotional maturity. It signals that a woman is capable of regulating her own emotions, honoring the emotional needs of her partner, and maintaining a stable and nurturing presence over time. Emotional maturity is inherently attractive because it reduces volatility and uncertainty in relationships. Men are drawn to partners who provide a stable emotional environment, where attention and respect are reliable rather than conditional. This stability allows both partners to grow individually and as a couple, deepening the bond and enhancing the potential for long-term connection. Small, habitual gestures of attention and respect accumulate to create a powerful sense of connection. Remembering details about his life, expressing appreciation for his efforts, actively listening during conversations, acknowledging his opinions, and consistently treating him with kindness are all ways that attraction is reinforced over time. These actions demonstrate that she values him not just in moments of excitement, but as an enduring presence in her life. Consistency ensures that these behaviors are perceived not as occasional favors, but as a defining aspect of her character, creating a foundation for lasting emotional investment. Another crucial aspect of consistency is its role in reducing relational anxiety and insecurity. When a man experiences reliable attention and respect, he feels less need to question his worthiness or the stability of the relationship. This allows him to be more open, expressive, and emotionally available, which further strengthens attraction. In contrast, inconsistent attention or disrespect can lead to confusion, doubt, and emotional withdrawal, undermining the potential for long-term connection. Consistency provides clarity and reassurance, creating an environment in which attraction can flourish naturally and organically. Attention and respect are also intertwined with the concept of reciprocity. A man who feels consistently noticed and respected is more likely to mirror those behaviors in return, creating a mutually reinforcing cycle of care and consideration. This reciprocity enhances relational satisfaction and reinforces the attraction between partners. The more consistent the attention and respect, the stronger this cycle becomes, ultimately cultivating a deep emotional bond that goes beyond physical or superficial appeal. In practical terms, cultivating consistency in attention and respect requires mindfulness, intention, and emotional intelligence. It involves actively noticing the partner's needs, preferences, and emotional cues, and responding in ways that are meaningful and respectful. It requires self-awareness to ensure that actions align with values and that attention and respect are authentic rather than performative. Over time, these consistent behaviors form a reliable pattern that communicates care, appreciation, and value, creating a deeply attractive and emotionally secure relational environment. The transformative power of consistency in attention and respect is evident in the long-term dynamics of relationships. Couples who practice these principles regularly report higher levels of satisfaction, trust, and emotional intimacy. Consistency creates a sense of reliability that is psychologically comforting and neurologically rewarding, reinforcing emotional attachment and desire. It is not about grand gestures or fleeting romantic displays. It is about the steady, reliable cultivation of emotional presence, acknowledgement, and dignity that fosters a love capable of enduring challenges, changes, and the passage of time.